This is just an excerpt from a full episode. If you enjoyed what you hear here, go check out other full episodes, either on YouTube or as part of the podcast feed. Enjoy! Moving on now to lazy accusation news. PM and rogue AI learning for the first time why humans cry, Scott Morrison has made a surprising accusation calling the increasing number of unemployed Australians, both of the long-standing and neo-unemployed varieties, lazy. A bold choice for any leader when we are in an upward spiral of unemployment, because the newly updated Jobseeker payment is just too good. Payment of $40 a day.
Could the Prime Minister live on the New Start rate of $40 a day?
The Prime Minister has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I thank the member for her question, and like all of those who are on New Start or many of the other welfare payments, those payments are certainly modest.
Opposition leader Anthony Albanese challenged Scott Morrison for not specifically answering whether he could live on $40 a day.
Jobseeker is the notorious rebranding of the previously named New Start allowance, as the old name was just too optimistic, giving Australians the impression that by taking the payment they could find some sort of new start. A wildly unobtainable dream for those who have undertaken the depressingly low payment of $40 a day. They went for a much less subtle branding, Jobseeker, reminding those living in the luxurious life that one can only live when jobless and receiving the kingly sum of $40 a day. What they are meant to do. Presumably they'll do this in between trips to the shops to laugh at the common folk and the suckers who had yet to catch on to this money-making scheme. Oh ho ho, oh ho, oh ho ho ho.
It's like printing my own money.
The choices are this, or have your collection of vintage Beanie Babies. Either way, you're going to get sorted. As such, he will be getting rid of the existing PM salary and replacing it with the new, overly generous Jobseeker payment. And frankly, this might explain why he's decided to go on his second holiday in 7 months. On his taxpayer salary, that is the 5th highest in the world in his field. Look, maybe he's right. The Jobseeker is just much too generous and it must be stopped. No, surely not. Just let me look over my own job applications. I can tell you, I have taken this opportunity to leave one job and try and improve my life by searching for a better one. I mean, I am open to you, the lovely listening audience, turning this into one of those jobs, if you guys are willing to help me out. But the last feedback that I got for a job that I applied for was that there were 600 applicants, which they had to whittle down to 20. But this is a very small sample size, and it's not like they're adding to the problem by laying off arguably one of the most essential services in times of high unemployment, Centrelink staff, right? Right? He asked, knowingly. Oh, whoopsie. Seems that they're also closing Centrelink services, taking people out of work and adding them to the increasing Jobseeker queue line, which might be better for them, as all the pay is so very good, and surely dealing with the Minotaur at the centre of the Centrelink labyrinth, Gaza, is worth the challenge. So, the PM has accused broke Aussies of being lazy. Where does he get off calling us lazy? None of us took a Hawaiian vacation during the worst bushfires in recorded history. Probably because we were yet to start receiving this sweet, sweet Jobseeker money. I, for one, have my Hawaiian vacation all set up and ready to go. I'll be taking a cruise out there, of course, because it just seems way safer than actually setting foot on mainland American soil right now. And I'm aware that Hawaii is not mainland America, but we like to be inclusive in the bearer of weird news. Look, I'm so concerned about visiting any place that is legally considered America that I'm worried about visiting the American embassy right now because I assume that they're being careless about COVID. But there's got to be some charts, right? Anybody got some charts? I mean, the leader of the country doesn't just call a significant percentage of the voters no good, lousy layabouts without some kind of proof. So, do we have a graph? There's some kind of graph. Ah, there we go. Let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this graph here. Weird. There seems to be a bigger decline in jobs than there are episodes of TV shows that still have blackface left in them. But I'm starting to think that maybe the state of the job market is such a trash heap that people need to work 2 or 3 incompatible jobs just to get by. Then there is a problem with the increasing casualization of the workforce, forcing workers into casual contracts so that they don't get the benefits, and then giving them so many hours that they might as well be working full time. And if they dare to refuse hours for, say, studying, so that they don't have to work at your shitty cafe for the rest of their lives, because, look, buddy, that was your dream, not theirs, that was your dream. But if they dare to refuse hours, then you don't give them shifts, because there's no contractual obligation, and how else will they learn to listen to you? And then there's the stagnating of their wages for over 40 years, so that they aren't in alignment with the cost of living increases that have happened in the country in the same amount of time. Oh, not to mention keeping a back catalogue of unemployed people so desperate and hungry that they are willing to put up with the shittiest of working conditions just to not have to decide if they want to eat or pay rent this month. Or maybe, just maybe, building entire industries on the relentless pursuit of profit to the point that there is a degree of shaving off the top of employees' wages and expecting them to work outrageous hours unpaid is the norm. Just maybe these weren't good ideas. Certainly would help people to pursue a job that they care about, rather than one that we have discovered is indispensable only during a pandemic, by not doubling the cost of certain degrees. I mean, if you want educated workers, and believe me, most of the jobs that I have applied for want educated workers, then you have to make the education system either free or accessible. I mean, if the education system was free, I feel like a lot of us would go to uni and we'd happily be overeducated. It is nearly impossible to get a job these days without a degree. And even with a degree, sometimes it isn't that much easier. Trust me. I love my thesis, but it hasn't even gotten me a writing job. It does help me with this stuff, though, kind of. I do a lot of research for these things. I know it doesn't show, but I do. But I'll be fine. I'm just being lazy, right? I'm just being unappreciative of the plethora of upstanding jobs that are flooding the market as I speak. No. I mustn't complain. But can I just ask quickly? Can we at least get the penalty rates back? It has been distinctly proven that the reduction of rates has failed to generate a single job. Even the Australian had to acknowledge that this was a gigantic failure. When your class war against the poor doesn't even have the support of the Australian, the newspaper equivalent of the mouth of Sauron, it is time to pack it in. I mean, look at this. This year, the tax office has told hundreds of childcare providers across Australia they are ineligible for JobKeeper payments, and warned that they may have to pay back what they have already received, despite the government's free childcare scheme automatically qualifying them for the wage subsidy. This, despite paying churches JobKeeper to keep priests employed, and they work closely with children. Hey, God shouldn't get any of this money. God is everywhere, which means God can work from home and the office simultaneously. Besides, if churches want state bailouts, then they need to provide the state with some taxes. I mean, who do they think they are? mining companies. Further details about the extent of the Australian Tax Office's JobKeeper compliance program, dubbed Robodebt 2.0 by those affected, which, if you ask me, is a very unimaginative name. We here at the Bearer of Weird News came up with some alternative names for the Robodebt 2.0. We had Robodebt 2, Judgment Payday, Ex-Cashina, Robodeddy Jr., the Reverse Robin Hood, where you give to the poor, change your mind, take it back, and then return it to the rich again. And a fucking pile of fresh bullshit. But hey, it's your future catastrophe. You choose the name that you want.